Title right, and you saw the thumbnail. It's finally time to get back to the Savage. I think it's been about a year since I last made a video about this build, and during that year I have had the bike stuffed up in the corner staring at me. Or maybe it's been more me staring at it, but it kind of feels like it's been staring back. And having that stare down every day has made me notice a few details that I don't like about the build as it sits right now. And one of the things that annoyed me the most is the front of the frame. It's just a mess of square tubing and round tubing and even a bit of sheet metal, and everything is welded together with really ugly factory welds. I guess the classic solution to this problem would be to just grind down all the welds and move on. But I'm not gonna do that. I think the welds are too big to be ground down. I think if I grind them all down, I will jeopardize the integrity of the frame. Instead, I started to think about ways to cover it all up. And that led me to think about those old 60s and 70s choppers with molded frames. I know we've all seen them, but it feels like they are kind of out of style. And if you know me, when something goes out of style or out of fashion, instead of following the masses, I like to go against the grain and pick it up. And maybe even try to put it back into fashion. I know I probably won't be able to do that, but a man can try. So I have decided I want to mold the front of the frame. And that will mean I would actually have to do something about the rear of the frame as well. It's not quite as bad, but it's still pretty bad. And since I'm not running any oil can or visible battery, it's just a big gaping hole back here. So I actually made a little template. It's just a piece of brown packing paper. I think it looks pretty good. It adds kind of a new flow to the bike. And it also gives me an opportunity to get rid of another thing that I really dislike. The ignition switch. The plate that holds the ignition switch kind of looks out of place. And the welding to the frame, quite honestly, it looks like crap. And for that, I can't blame anyone else but myself. But when I put this template in place and started looking at it, I kind of realized another thing that I dislike about this bike. And that is actually this. The pod filter. I know a lot of custom builds run these pod filters, and I think they look alright on a racer or maybe a performance machine. But for a build that goes more towards the classic chopper look, I think they look out of place. So what if instead of running this pod filter, this new decorative thing could actually act as my airbox? And I can already hear a lot of you screaming at the screen. I know, I am well aware that that is actually the placement of the stock airbox. And it kind of feels like I have been going full circle here. But still, I think a hidden airbox will look really sleek on this thing. And I actually pulled out the stock airbox, and I think the hose that connects to the carb actually looks quite alright. So I think I will run this. And then I searched through my pile of scrap metal and I found this. A piece of pipe that is a leftover for when I had to fix the exhaust on my Volvo. And the crazy thing is, it fits perfectly in this hose. I think this has the potential to look really cool, and I'm really excited to get started on it. So excited, I have actually already made a piece of sheet metal. Is it just me, or does it feel like I've been rambling forever? I think it's time for me to shut up and start beating some sheet metal. Alright, we are making some serious progress. The panels are tacked into place and I actually used the frame as a dolly to make the last adjustments. I think it turned out pretty well. Next I will start working on the front panel that will cover this up. And it will be a bit special because there is where all the pipes and stuff for the carb needs to go. But I think it will be fine. It looks like I have hit my first roadblock. This tube that I wanted to use is actually too long. And I don't like the idea of cutting it. I just don't think it will look good. But I think I have a solution. This solid pipe. It is a bit too big, but only about 1 millimeter. So I think if I cut a slot down the middle and weld it together, I can shrink it enough. And another thing to keep in mind that is very easy to forget is that I have to be able to disassemble it later. I need to be able to take out the carb without too much of a hassle. And it still needs to look good. Let's see what I can come up with. just had to put the rear fender and stuff back on just to see how it looks. And I must say, I think it looks pretty darn good. And even though it's not 100% finished, I'm actually going to end this video right here. It's way easier to finish up all the welds with the bike fully disassembled, but I don't really feel like doing that right now. I would much rather keep working on the front of the frame. But that will be for the next video. But before you go, I have two things I want to ask you. I know that the bike needs an air filter, and I've been thinking about putting it inside this tube. Of course, that would mean that I would have to make a custom filter, but I'm okay with that. But if any of you have any better ideas, I am very open to changing my mind. And the second thing I would need your opinion on is the very back of the frame. As for right now, I have left it fully open, but I've been thinking about closing it up. Of course, I would need a few holes to let some air in, but it might look better with a panel back there. But then again, I don't know if anyone would notice. Maybe it's just extra work for no reward. Let me know down in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I see you later. Bye!